Where is the best place to put a solar panel? In this video, I'll show you how you can use a little programmable device called a microbit to collect your own data for a science project to answer this question yourself. But first, a little background information. Solar panels generate the most power when they are pointed directly at the sun. So for panels that don't move to track the sun, you want them to be placed so they get the most total sunlight exposure both throughout the day as the sun moves from east to west throughout the sky, and throughout the year as there are seasonal variations and the sun moves higher or lower in the sky. So if you live in the northern hemisphere where the sun is usually in the southern end of the sky, the best place to put panels is somewhere like this in an open field where there are no tall buildings or trees nearby that are going to cast shade on the panels, with the panels facing towards the south because, again, the sun is in the southern part of the sky for most of the year, and it's the opposite if you're in the southern hemisphere. However, just having the panels in an open field like this often isn't an option. Many times they need to be on the roof of a building, and the roof might not be aligned directly to the north or the south, so the panels might need to be at a different angle, or maybe you do have some other tall trees or buildings nearby that are in the way, and that raises the question of, okay, where can I still put the panels to maximize total sunlight exposure throughout the day? And that is where the microbit comes in as a handy little tool because it has a built-in light sensing capability, and it can work as a data logger to collect data throughout the day that you can then analyze on a computer. So for a science project, you can place the microbit in different locations or at different angles, collect data throughout the day, and then find out which position and orientation give you the most total sunlight exposure. So we are going to switch over to the computer, and I am going to show you how to do that with the microbit. To do this project, we are going to use the Sunlight Data Logger program. So I will put this link down in the description of this video. Go ahead and click that link, and then click the Edit Code button to open the program in Microsoft MakeCode so you can edit it yourself and download it to your microbit. Before we continue, if you have never used a microbit before, we strongly recommend checking out our microbit tutorial series. I will also put that link in the description of this video, and it will help you get set up using your microbit and programming it for the first time. Now, since this program is already written for you, unlike most of our other microbit videos, I will not show you how to write it yourself block by block, but I will briefly explain how it works. So the microbit does not start automatically logging data. When it first powers on, it will show an X on the screen to indicate that data logging has not started yet. It won't start logging data until you press the A button, and after that, once every 3,600,000 milliseconds, or once every hour, it will log the current light value on a scale of 0 to 100. It will keep automatically logging data until you press button B, at which point you can go view the data on your computer. And then you can press buttons A and B at the same time to delete the data so you can do the next trial of your experiment. You don't really need to change anything in this program. The only thing you might want to change is the value for milliseconds in the every loop if you want to collect data more often than once an hour. So just for purposes of demonstration in this video, so we don't have to wait a whole day to collect data, I'm going to decrease this value quite a bit and change it to just 5,000 milliseconds. Remember that a millisecond is 1,000th of a second, so 5,000 milliseconds is equal to 5 seconds. Now, for an experiment where you are waiting for the sun to slowly move through the sky throughout the day, collecting data every 5 seconds is probably way more than you need, but again, just for the sake of quickly demonstrating this program in this video, I am going to set that to 5,000 milliseconds, and to make it easier to graph the data later, I'm going to go up here to the Set Timestamp block, click on the drop-down menu, and change this to seconds instead of hours. Then I'm going to download the program to my microbit and go test it out. So here I have my microbit with an X on the screen indicating that it is not yet collecting data. When I press button A, it is going to show a check mark and a heart to briefly indicate that it has started, and then while it is logging data, it'll just show this one LED lit up in the corner of the screen and show a heart every time it collects a data point. So instead of taking this outside and waiting all day for the sun to move through the sky, I'm just going to simulate the motion of the sun with this flashlight. So I'm going to turn it on, start it, at one side of the screen here and kind of slowly move it, making sure I'm keeping it aimed at the microbit, and come around to the other side to simulate the sun setting. And again, you are going to be doing this experiment with real sunlight. I am just using the flashlight for demonstration purposes in this video. So once I have gotten to the other side, I'm going to turn the flashlight off, and then I'm going to press button B to stop logging data, and the microbit will switch back to showing the X on the screen. Once you are done collecting data, you can plug your microbit back into your computer, and it works just like an external flash drive. You can navigate to the microbit in your computer's file browser, and then double-click on mydata.htm, which is going to open the recorded data file in a web browser. Once you do that, you should see a window like this where you have a few different options. You can download or copy the data so you can paste it into a spreadsheet program like Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets if you would like to make your own graphs. You can also click the visual preview button here to see a graph right in your web browser. And again, this is simulated data with a flashlight. It's not real data from the sun, but you can see sort of the same idea where the intensity of light hitting the solar panel is going to be low in the morning, and then it's going to go up throughout the day, peaking around noon when the sun is highest in the sky, and then go back down. At least that is for a perfectly sunny day with no clouds and no trees or tall buildings shading the solar panel at a certain time of day. Now, for a science project, you're going to want to record data in different locations and compare these graphs. For example, you could put your microbit on the north, south, east, and west sides of your house for one trial each, and keep the tilt angle relative to the ground the same for each trial. Remember that you should only change one variable at a time in a science experiment. And then, after you have recorded data at each location, you would need to compare the graphs. But to do that, you're going to need to measure something called the area under the curve, or the area of the shape. If you imagine if I drew another horizontal line across the bottom here, the area under this line on the graph, because that's going to tell you which location had the most total sun exposure throughout the day. Sometimes this comparison is obvious, especially on those perfectly sunny days. For example, here we can tell just by looking that the graph on the left has more area under it, or the light blue shaded area, than the graph on the right, simply because the graphs are about the same width, but the one on the left is much taller. However, it's not always this obvious, especially when shade is involved. For example, here are two different representative graphs that could show what it's like as the sun moves through the sky, but different tall trees cast shade on the panels. Now, it is no longer immediately obvious which graph has a bigger area under the curve. This means that we need to measure it. One way to do this is to plot your data in a spreadsheet program like Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets, and then print your graph on a physical sheet of graph paper, or just graph your data by hand on graph paper, and then count the number of squares under the curve. I've only shaded whole squares here, but for a more accurate estimate, you can also count fractions of a square. For example, here I can see that about half of this square is under the curve and half is above it, so I would add half a square to include that. Another option is to add up the areas of all the rectangles that fit under the curve. And if you've taken a calculus class, you'll probably recognize this as the way you calculate an integral, which is another way of saying the area under the curve. You do this by multiplying the width of each rectangle, for example, 1 hour if you're collecting data every hour, by the height of the rectangle, or where it touches the curve. Note that you could measure to where the corner of the rectangle first touches the curve, or you can make the rectangles a little taller to where the curve touches the midpoint of this top line, and you will get slightly different results, but as long as you are consistent with how you measure it, that will allow you to make comparisons between trials. So you multiply width times height to calculate the area of each rectangle individually, and then you add up all of their areas to get the total area. If we switch back to the microbit's browser preview of the data, you'll see that you could use either of these methods directly in the web browser without needing to plot the data in a separate spreadsheet program. Even though the grid here is not square, you could count the number of rectangles under the curve to get an approximation of the total area, and you can also hover your mouse cursor over the data points to get their exact values and use those to calculate the width and height of each rectangle, and then again, multiply width times height to calculate the area of each rectangle, and add the areas up to get the total area. Once you've calculated the area under the curve, make sure you write that number down, for example, in a data table that you're using for your science project. And even if you did all of your work directly in the web browser, it's still a good idea to download and save a copy of your data so you don't lose it when you erase this data from your microbit for the next trial. After you save this data, you can clear the memory on your microbit by pressing buttons A and B at the same time, and then you're ready for your next trial. One final note here about setting up your microbit for this experiment. Ideally, you would collect all your data on perfectly sunny days, but depending on where you live, that might not be possible. For example, you can see it's very sunny, but I do still have a few clouds in the sky here. So you're probably going to need to collect multiple trials worth of data over multiple days for each location to average out any effect of those clouds. You also don't want to risk your microbit getting wet, so if there's any chance of rain at all, you probably want to put it in a plastic bag like this because that's going to allow light through but prevent the microbit from getting wet. And if for whatever reason you cannot leave your microbit outside at all, then you could try propping it up inside on a windowsill so it is facing out the window, and that way it'll still get hit by sunlight. So again, the exact details of how you do the experiment and where you place the microbit, but again, remember, if you are trying different locations, you want to keep that tilt angle the same because you only want to change one variable in an experiment. But again, the details of how exactly you conduct the experiment and collect the data are going to depend on your location and the physical environment you have available to set the microbit up. But that underlying procedure of using the data logger program and measuring the area under the curve is going to be the same. We hope you found this video helpful. Remember that you can find links to the example program and our microbit tutorial series in the description below this video. We would love to hear from you if you did this project, so please go ahead and leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe and check out the rest of our channel, where you can find hundreds of other videos on projects in all areas of science and engineering. Thanks for watching.